I feel like any Shovel Knight related video nowadays is either a retrospective or starts with the words, "Ah, Shovel Knight." You remember that game, right? There has been a decline in popularity for Shovel Knight for a long time now. Of course, there are still people making videos about the game, but they mostly seem to be less edited and more Let's Play style videos. And that's cool. It's okay to not make highly edited videos. The community nowadays still exists and is fairly active, as it does for almost any game. No game ever truly dies. It's just more niche, and for people who really enjoy Shovel Knight, and for those who like to engage about it with other people. The most active side of the community being on Twitter, Reddit, and the Shovel Knight Discord servers. I'm not on these platforms myself, but I don't have any negative experience on them, so I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They just never felt like my thing, so I didn't bother to join them just for a specific game. While other indie games still have people dedicated on making videos about them, Shovel Knight's community is slowly declining and way nicher, causing the game to have less exposure and fewer people are talking about it. There has been a decrease in people speedrunning the game, causing a lack of world record attempts, or any activity in runners. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be people running the game to this day, but the competition has definitely died down. Now this script was made before Mina the Hollower was released, so some of you might currently be replaying Shovel Knight or playing it for the first time, but I feel like the topic of this video is still relevant enough, so may this serve as a little history lesson for all of you. So in this video I kinda wanted to tackle why Shovel Knight has not experienced a nostalgia boom that so many other indie games and titles seem to experience at some point, and why its player base has been declining ever since. And there's nothing wrong with the retrospectives, or the video essays people make. I even watch most of them myself, and would recommend all of you to check some of them out, if you want to reminisce about Shovel Knight. They were all very enjoyable to watch, and it's always cool to see people's thought on the game. I personally happened to play Shovel Knight at the right time of my life, just when I needed a game like this, and I'm afraid of the concept of socializing, which is why I'm not joining these communities. And before all of you pick up your shovels and start pogoing my ass, I absolutely love Shovel Knight, having recently tried to get every single achievement or feat in the game, and I would definitely put Shovel Knight as one of my top 10 gaming experiences of all time. And I absolutely love all the 4 main games to heart. I adore all of the characters in the game, my favorite one of them being Propeller Knight. I don't know what about this guy appeals to me so much, it's just how arrogantly he fights, and what a charmer he is. I definitely wouldn't mind knowing more about the guy. The level design is such perfection. Every little detail they put in the game just elevates my love for it so much. I absolutely adore how much care Yacht Club games put in their game, and they definitely set a great example for future indie game developers. And for the music, such bangers, dude. Now let's talk a bit about how the game became to be. And I'm not that knowledgeable on this one, so I might miss some crucial points about some things, but I will try my best to summarize how things basically went down. The game was first publicly revealed in 2013, mainly through Yacht Club Games' Kickstarter campaign, and the studio itself was made up of former Way Forward Technologies developers. The game became pretty widely known among retro game fans and other people who really enjoyed pixel art style games. The music was really high quality for an indie game. The game was also heavily pressed by gaming sites and YouTubers who promoted the game, and all the reviews were positive. The game was also supported by Nintendo, who helped to promote it on the Wii U and the 3DS, and eventually the game got published. The sales quickly exceeded expectations, and the players heavily recommended it online. And also the stretch goal and all the future content that they promised kept players interested. When the game was at its peak popularity, they got amiibos, had a bunch of crossovers, such as Rivals of Eaters, Brawlhalla, and even Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. They released a bunch of merch, and even an Arby's collaboration, collectibles, and a board game. That stuff kept them on a map for a long time. And all at the same time they were releasing new updates, campaigns, and brand new games. We'll talk about those in a little bit. The studio stopped focusing on Shovel Knight around 2021 and 2022, when they announced Mina the Hollower, and that's when they closed the book on Shovel Knight for now. But I believe that for me, and for most people, Shovel Knight's most recognizable part was the characters, who I already mentioned are all amazing and very memorable with their unique personalities. Most of the big indie games have a large cult following. Even when the games become old news, there are still people dedicated on making videos, speedrunning, and doing things with the community. Now this was just my own misjudgment, but I didn't clock it until recently. But I had always thought that Shovel Knight wasn't as big as I had always thought. I have been aware of Shovel Knight since it was first released, but when you look at the player numbers, they can't even be compared. Which was kinda shocking to me, because in my mind, Shovel Knight was literally the indie game that revived and made indie games mainstream. So not naturally I thought that it was just as big as everything else, but apparently not. I do remember when Spectre of Torment and King of Cards came out, and the hype around them. Like Stardew Valley, Hollow Knight, Celeste, the player base was just never as big as those games. Now, let's play Shovel Knight through someone's eyes who has never played the game before. When most people first boot up Shovel Knight, they will most likely pick up Shovel Knight as their first campaign, as it is literally the title of the game, and would most likely serve as the introduction to the world. And they're right, Shovel Knight is the most simple out of the 4 main games. It has the most linear story, you save your companion, beat all the bad guys, and the main boss, right? In terms of difficulty, Shovel Knight is fairly easy for people who have experience with platformer games. They will know that ice is slippery, how to do most jumps, and just generally know how to hit enemies to kill them. Shovel Knight takes a lot of elements from retro games like Mario, DuckTales, Mega Man 2, etc. Stuff that nowadays is fairly common to most gamers to understand, since everyone has played a game where these mechanics are implemented in them. As for people playing Shovel Knight as their first platformer, the game's first level does a really good job at introducing these things to you like it is expected from a good game design standpoint. Even through all of this, Shovel Knight can be a challenging gaming experience, even for the most experienced gamers, and people will always get a lot of satisfaction from beating the whole game, since it has an enjoyable story, fun characters, and a memorable ending. A lot of people tend to leave things here and think, well, I beat Shovel Knight, I might someday play the other games, and then they never do. And then some people might try out Plague Knight next, since it's the second game in the list. It is quite a whiplash compared to the first game. The way you control the character suddenly feels unnatural. Your jump is shorter, you take more knockback, and you need to learn how to hit these bombs. Even the first level feels like an exhausting challenge, and the rest of the game can feel boring, since levels are just reused from Shovel Knight, except for those parts specifically designed for Plague Knight's movement. Those parts are actually really good, but unfortunately, those parts aren't utilized enough in the game to make up for it. Plague Knight's best part were definitely its story, the humor, and the romance, and all the gameplay parts that were actually designed for Plague Knight. This, in my opinion, is the part where most people drop the game. And they never even get to the best parts. There are Spectre Knight, who moves more like Ninja Gaiden games, and King Knight, who is more like a WarioWare game. These two are just incredible games on their own, and they are the personal favorites of most people who have ever played Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Let's next talk a bit about how the game was kinda marketed as a polished, modernized retro game, made with modern technology, to be like the previously mentioned Mega Man's, DuckTales, Mario Bros, and Zelda 2 and such. Shovel Knight is paying an homage to these legendary NES games, which was amazing at the time, since no one else in the gaming industry was doing anything like that. And it was amazing for the fans who could feel like they were playing the same games as they used to back in the day. Nowadays, this has become more or less the norm, since everyone does pixel art graphics, since they're just appealing and just in all ways timeless. So I feel like Shovel Knight kinda shot itself in the foot by branding itself as a retro game, since everything will eventually become retro. Like, isn't the GameCube retro now? Like, fuck, is the Wii gonna be retro in the next couple of years? The console that I grew up with. And I would say I'm still young, right? All the indie games that have pixel art graphics who aren't labeling themselves as retro are enjoying much larger success and have way larger player bases still playing their games. So simply, Shovel Knight itself is a timeless masterpiece, but the marketing around it was just really time dependent. Now this factor doesn't really apply now, but at the time when all the new campaigns were added, they used to have some weird ass release orders, where they would be launching them as new games but still update the main game, and then not launching some games at all. And maybe some of you still have those separate releases on your Switch or something. Like, you used to have to own Treasure Trove to play Plague of Shadows, but you could have Spectre Knight and Shovel of Hope as separate games. But you couldn't buy Plague of Shadows as its own game. But the Spectre Knight game would be released on Treasure Trove for free. So it was just really complicated for a lot of people. and they would just spend extra money to get a game that they technically could get for free if they owned the original game. And this just caused a lot of confusion in the community. If you want a better explanation, then check out this video. This most likely isn't an issue anymore, and all of this was mostly cleared after they released King Knight, since new players would just buy Treasure Trove if they were interested in playing Shovel Knight games. Now, about Shovel Knight Dig and Pocket Dungeon. I have personally never played these games, so my knowledge in this is even more limited. But as far as how I see it, these games were fairly liked among the Shovel Knight community and had a great gameplay loop. But these didn't particularly increase Shovel Knight's mainstream audience. Let's yap a bit about Showdown, which is a Shovel Knight themed fighting game inside Treasure Trove where you can play all the plot-wise important characters from the games. For me, it was pretty forgettable, maybe because I never played with friends or anything. But still, this felt like a cool addition, because they always promised that they would add this in their Kickstarter campaign. Now, for a conclusion, I feel like Shovel Knight is a really important stepping stone for indie games. And it really was one of the first ones to put them on a map and made indie games what they are today. And all in all, I would say that no. The internet never forgot about Shovel Knight. The community is still thriving and active, the games are still enjoyed by a lot of people every single day, and the game never lost its charm, and will never lose its charm. It will always feel amazing for new people playing the game for the first time, and the old players who want to re-experience what the game had to offer. And the speedrunners will always keep coming back, finding new skips and improving their times. And that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. This was my first commentary style video, so there were probably a lot of things that I could have done better. And if you noticed that I said anything wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comment section. And just tell me how you felt about the video. As for future, I wanna do more Shovel Knight related videos. So if you feel like you want to see more Shovel Knight videos, definitely subscribe for the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you supported those future videos as well. But that's all from me. Thank you again for watching, and bye bye!